this should be a very interesting eye opener of a podcast. But before we begin the podcast on Married to a Police Officer, a law officer of the law, I have something to tell you. I have a fun fact. Haven't done that in a while. I don't know how many of you have been to New York before, but I love New York. I haven't been in about 10 years or so, but it's just a place of energy. I love the place. Love Broadway, love musicals. But did you know that the Statue of Liberty's mouth is 3 feet wide? That's an interesting fun fact, I thought. I mean, because when you see it up close, yes, it's huge, but when you see it from a distance, it's not so big. So anyway, that's your fun fact. That's a great starter conversation. How big do you think the Statue of Liberty's mouth is? But anyway, so how many of you have ever dated a police officer, male or female? Well, if you have, you know it's a different life. Yes, they go to work just like the 9 to 5, but they have different shifts. So if you're dating someone, you have to work around their shift. Like if they're on deep nights, that means they're going to be gone all night. So there's no dating at night. Your dating is going to be early evening or breakfast when they get off work. And some literally are on call 24 hours. They have that extra phone. And if they're like in homicide, SWAT, um, crimes against children, and other different units, then they will be on call all the time. So you could be enjoying your family dinner and they're going to get a call and they're going to have to go in. So it's interesting because people, when I first started dating my husband, I've told you, he is a retired officer. And when we first started dating, he and I were best friends, best friends. So it was no big deal. We'd get together and just hang out. But then when we started dating, it was different because of he was on days, but it was different because sometimes they may get a call and they get stuck in jail for like hours because of paperwork or not even paperwork anymore. I'm sure everything's computerized, but everything's uncomputerized. He was a traffic investigator. If there was a fatality, he would get up in the middle of the night and have to go um, investigate the accident. I mean, there is just so much that officers have to do. And if you do get involved with an officer, know that it will be one of the hardest things that you may ever do in your life. It's not the, oh, we both go to work at the same time, we both come home at the same time. Um they may have alternate shifts, like 1 month they're on days, the next month they're on evenings. So you have to adjust to that. It is challenging, but love conquers all. uh, when I did first date him, and then we got serious and decided to get married, I had someone tell me, this is something I didn't want to hear. And no person wants to hear this about who they're about to get married to. Did you know that the highest divorce rate is with police officers? No, I did not, but thank you for sharing that. Well, that didn't change my mind. So we will be married 39 years in January, and I'm very excited and proud that we have survived. We've had our ups and our downs, but just to let anyone know, it's not easy. And then two officers that may be married, we have several friends that are couples and well married, and they're both officers. So you have to work around those schedules also. But the good news is, ladies and gentlemen, one out of every two officers suffers from a divorce or separation. I know that doesn't sound very good, does it? But it sounds a lot better after I give you more information. And it's usually work related because, again, it's not easy when you first get involved when you're going to worry all the time. When you say that final goodbye in the morning, is it the final? When you say that I love you, is it the last time you'll say I love you? Because you don't know. And unfortunately, their life is on the line each and every day. And so many people are not fond of officers. And of course, like I've said, there are bad apples. There's bad apples in the church, for gosh sakes. There's bad apples in every occupation. Also, the plus side on the divorce rate is, well, first of all, it's stress too. Let me go back to that. Stress is one of the major things because they are away from home a lot. Not all officers. Once you get up in the ranks and stuff, they usually get the 9 to 5 positions, but a lot of people, they're just happy being on the streets. That's where they want to be. That's what they hired for, and that's what they love doing. But the highest rate of divorce is in military work, which that kind of surprised me because I wouldn't have thought that. But I guess so because that is also another stressful job. Especially, I have a friend who he is in the army and has been gone to Afghanistan. So his wife has been here for I think he was gone for like 2 years, and he just got back. He's gone a couple times, several times actually, and he just got back. And they have 3 kids, and she's done it, but it is tough. So I can understand that. But this was interesting. Female firefighters are more likely to get a divorce or separate more than what male firefighters do. Hmm. I thought that's interesting. So back to being married to an officer. It can be one of the toughest, and it is one of the toughest. For me it was. But then guess what? You do get used to it. But there are always these things you have to beware with because of their jobs. It's frustrating. We just went to a marriage retreat, and we were asked to be on a panel because we're lifers of being a law enforcement couple. But well, he is. But anyway, and one of the things is that we didn't have this when we first got married, but cell phones. I've told you about the addiction of cell phones. And one of the spouses asked, "What do you do about the cell phone?" Well, again, we cell phones came out, and my husband was still on it. The new fun thing that everyone had. But so many of them rely on their cell phones to keep contact with their jobs because if they're detectives, they're always on call. It's like being a doctor; they can get a call in the middle of the night, and it's very frustrating to the spouse, male or female spouse, because that's what they're doing at the dinner table. It's not like they can put it away because they're expecting, they don't sit there waiting for a call, but it could happen at any time, especially in the larger cities. So that's one of the things that you have to really understand that this is a job that you not only married your husband or your wife, who is a law officer, uh, you've married the job too. Now, a lot of husbands would prefer not to tell their wife what happened at work because they don't want them to worry. Now, me, on the other hand, I couldn't wait to hear the stories. They were interesting. They were always something, and it makes you appreciate your life even more. There was always something, and it's sad because we don't see everything that they see. We don't we can't just continue the next day when you've seen a child killed or someone injured or something, just some traumatic crime. We would just be like, "Oh, I can't get that picture out of my head." Guess what? They have to continue the next day and go do it all over again in hopes that that doesn't happen again. So this is a very tough job. And when we, as spouses, male and female, have to understand it's not going to work and coming home and forgetting the job. When you talk to police officers and some of the spouses, they are usually, when they start talking about their relationship, it's hard for them to understand. Like, why is he always on the phone? Why is he always talking about work? It's therapeutic, first of all, for them to talk about work, but some spouses don't want to hear it. Again, I enjoyed, and that sounds horrible, I enjoyed hearing about his job because I was at home with the kids. He was my outlet to the outside world, which was, again, an eye opener because I didn't understand everything he saw. And we as individuals need to remember that and respect that. Now, if you are not sure about this when you first are thinking about dating an officer, give them a chance because it's hard for them too because they want to be able to have a normal life as normal as it can be. Now, I'm not saying that this is with all officers, especially smaller towns. They don't have as much crime as the bigger cities do. And they have different shifts, like I said earlier. Some of them may go in at 4 a.m. and get off at 1 p.m. Oh, could you even imagine those hours? I mean, and if they're single, they can't have pets or children at home because guess what? Nobody's going to be there for them in the morning. So if you feel as though the tension is rising in your marriage because of that job, you need to go and find some help. They have counselors. Most big cities, I would think everyone would be able to help you with counseling because we don't want to be a statistic. I didn't. Well, again, we had ups and downs. I don't think he'll mind me telling you this, but a woman who was I guess an informant, and yeah, that's what she was. I guess I could say that. And she fell in love with him. And I kept saying, honey, I think she likes you. She goes, no, no, she doesn't know. She doesn't know. And I thought, no, I think she knows. But she literally fell in love with him. She gets arrested. And she said, how could you do this to me? I love you. She gets that one call. Guess who she called? It wasn't her parents or her attorney. It was my husband. So, but it was a crazy time. So, anyway, I mean, no, I did not get mad because he was just doing his job. It wasn't like they were meeting, is at least not to my knowledge. No, meeting in some sleazy hotel or motel or something. But anyway, those are the things you may have to deal with. And also with a male, excuse me, a female officer, if she may get in a situation like that. So you need to remember these little things and you need to know if you like that person and he's a police officer, she's a police officer, it is one of the most exciting lives you'll ever lead. Because if you are seriously thinking about dating them, be upfront with them. Tell them your concerns. And remember, date longer than 2 weeks. I've had some friends that have met or gotten together, especially one of them. They found each other on match.com and they dated, she said 2 weeks and they were married for 4 years. Well, they are no longer. Know this person you're getting married to. Not trying to trash match.com because I've had several friends who have found their match of a lifetime and they are together still after many, many years. So, anyway, but date that person, get to know them, get to know the job, get to know that lifestyle because it is a different type of life. Is it the best life? Yeah, you can make it the best life if you choose. I always feel like you can make good things out of bad things. I mean, it's an exciting, if you're really into like watching, I don't know, Law and Order, any type of show like this. I'm not saying it's just like that, but they will come home with so many interesting stories. And again, remember the different shifts they have. Like I know that there's day shifts and evenings and nights, and this is in some cities. Like the day shift is from 8 to 4, evenings 3 to 11, and nights is usually 11 p.m. until 7. I did have a friend who her husband was on deep nights for like years. He loved it. That's busy. That's a busy time. Um, on certain days, certain times of the year. But he just loved being on deep nights, which is the 11 to 7. So, home all day, slept while she was at work. I woke up when she came home. They got to spend several hours together. Then she'd be going to bed and he'd be off to work. So I'm sure there were lonely nights for her, but they are still together after, oh gosh, 40 some odd years. Of course, he's retired, but the only reason for this is she gave him an ultimatum. She said, I need you home at night with me. And they had two children. And, and it wasn't because they had these kids. It was that she just wanted him home at night. So, she basically said, if you can't make that happen, I'm not sure what's going to happen here in our relationship because I love you so much, but I worry so much. And for their anniversary, he gave her a gift, and the gift was his new assignment. And he was no longer, I mean, he literally left the streets and it was pretty cool because he got to get into another unit that he was able to do the day shift like 8 to 4 and be there. So it's if you're willing to be flexible, that's great. My husband did so many different types of shifts, but we were fine. Sometimes I think when he alternated the shifts from days to evenings, that was good for us. But anyway, it can work. It is like any marriage or any relationship. It is hard, but if find out if your department that your spouse is in has a spouses group. Now, I know Dallas has a spouses group for men and women, and they do amazing things. They bring families together, it brings spouses together, the husbands that are stay at home dads, the moms who are stay at home moms, and they connect. And you don't have to become best friends, but that just lets you know you're not alone. So it's really good to connect because that was a hard thing for us to do because they didn't have anything like that when my husband was on the department. But find those things. Know that you're not alone. It is a totally type of relationship, I will tell you right now. I got to the point where I couldn't worry because I knew my husband was being safe. And again, I have learned not to be a worrier about certain things, and that was one of the things I couldn't worry about because of the fact it was out of my hands. So I prayed for him to be safe. I prayed for him to come home, and by the grace of God, he did. Yes, he had some close calls, like he was run over by a car when he was on motors. But by the grace of God, guess what? The guy's still in prison, and my husband's still here. So that's amazing. Um, Crime does not pay people. But the other thing, another type of concern you will have is if your child goes into law enforcement. Totally did. And no, my son is a law officer. That sounds funny. He's a police officer. He's not a law officer. He's a police officer. And it is a different type of worry. Do I worry each and every day? No, because it is out of my hands. It's in God's hands, and God is taking good care of him. And I pray that God will continue to take care of all officers, male and female, out there for their families. It's a different life, like I said, but it's worth it. If you love that person, no, you will have some hardship times because it is hard. There will be nights that he may not even come home due to his job because he's stuck and come home or shower at the station and get back right out there because they are devoted to this job. And a lot of these don't even pay that much. They don't start off with six figures. That doesn't happen. There are some smaller cities that may start off at six figures, but there are some big cities that do not. But be thankful for these men and women who have chosen this career path. Because of them, they make us safe, they make us feel safe in our homes, and hopefully make people realize they are the good guys. Yes, again, there are some bad apples, but the majority of officers are amazing, love their jobs, and love what they do. So, for you who is thinking to say I do to dating an officer, or I do to marriage. Get to know him, get to know the job, and know that it is worth it. Have patience and know that he's coming home to you and your family each and every night and pray for them. Because of that, that has been my saving grace prayer. So I hope for all of you that, again, are considering dating an officer, or don't let that detour you just to say, no, 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 I don't want to date because he's an officer. I don't know if I'm going to worry all the time. Don't let that be your judgment call is like, up, I can't do it. I just can't. Because guess what? He or she could be the one that you will spend the next 39 years together in marital bliss, have a great family. You just don't know what God has in store for you. So it is a roller coaster ride, but most marriages and most relationships are. And this one is totally worth it. So I hope you find your shining knight in shining armor, or shiny badge, shiny shield. I don't know. I'm just talking now. Anyway, and who doesn't love a man or woman in uniform? This is Henry. I hope you find your happiness. I hope that you have a wonderful next 24 hours and go find your blessings.